I am making Russian rye bread today. Where are my glasses? I'm running out of bread, so I have to make it. So I'm going to make this one. It looks like a really nice one. It's interesting. You need 2 tablespoons of, they say, a solid vegetable shortening. Now that could be shortening, and that can be lard. I'm using lard, 2 tablespoons, and they want you to melt it. Be careful melting it because you don't want it to overheat and you don't want it to burn. So that's very important that what you're doing. So we're going to get this melted. Oh God, where did I put that tray? All right. Oh, thank you. So let's go ahead and get this going. I'll be putting things in here. All right. We need 1.5 cups, they say warm water. Remember the potatoes that I just did? I'm going to take this water, and this is what we're going to use in place of it. It won't affect the flavor, but it will feed that yeast, because yeast loves it. Now remember, I didn't add any salt when I cooked the potatoes, so it won't interfere with what I'm doing. It seems some of you don't believe that I do use this stuff to cook with. So here's a nice way of showing you that I do it. But if you don't have any potato water, you can use regular water, but you're going to have to warm it up a little. And do not take it from the tap. Because if you take it from the hot water tap, you're going to end up with sediments from the hot water heater. But it's got a lot of sugar in it. I remember we used to get big bottles of blackstrap molasses. If you have an iron deficiency, 2 tablespoons of this a day will pick it up. So we'll take 1 in the morning with breakfast and 1 with supper. It's like having a nice dessert. So we're going to put this in a bowl with the potato water. Am I going to proof my yeast? Not really, because I know that my yeast is good. And I've told you how to care for your yeast to make sure that you don't have a problem with it. Okay. We're going to put, that's a lot of salt. All right, you want 3 teaspoons and 3/4. Well, that's a tablespoon. God, that's a lot of salt. Okay. So it'll be a tablespoon and 3/4 of a teaspoon. Right now. Oh, thank you, Kat. Yaboria. I'm the one doing the live stream. Hi, Alex, Braden, Nerlan. No, some days I don't. It's just I had to do this. I'm literally running out of stuff. And we need 2 teaspoons of caraway seeds. This is going to make 2 loaves, by the way. Haven't even gotten to the yeast yet. 3 packages of yeast we'll put in here as well. So let's see, that's 2, 4, 6. 6 3/4. Okay. 3, 2, 4, 6. That's a lot of yeast. I can tell you, I should know. For 2 loaves. We are making Russian rye bread today. It's for dinner. All right, we got that. All right, so you can use shortening, lard. I am using lard that I made. Yeah, I do that too. I know it's hot too, so I have to be careful adding it, or I'll kill the yeast. You always have to be aware of doing that. Okay, so always be careful of that. When you're adding hot milk or something, if you don't, if you have it too hot or you pour it too quickly, you're going to find out that it'll kill it. And then you won't have what you're looking for. All right, what else do you want in this? What's the cornmeal for? Oh, okay, I know what that's for. All right, we're going to be adding flour now. I don't know if I have enough rye, but if I don't, I'll use wheat to go with it. I do that. Now they want 2 1/4 cups of rye. 1, 2. This is a 1/2 cup measure I'm using. 3. Yeah, I have enough, I think. And I need a 1/4. Well, that's only 4 tablespoons, so I could do that. Okay, we've added all of that. The only thing left is just to add the all-purpose flour. We have everything in there now. I know it has steps that says let the yeast do this, you do that, step A, B, C, D, but I make bread all the time, so I already know what I'm doing. Laurie, there's no baking soda in this. The yeast is my leavening. I don't need that leavening in here. See, they first tell you do this, do that, then stir, and then do this, and then do that. I've been making bread. God, I wasn't even 10 years old and I was starting to make bread, so I'm pretty proficient in it at my age. I've been doing it 60 some odd years. No, the biscuits were made yesterday, which was a lie. I made whole wheat biscuits, but I told you how you could sit there and make light whole wheat or just regular white flour ones. Okay? Good afternoon, happy Larry and Lady and Larry and somebody. Oh, I can't read all the names, but good afternoon to all of you. May you have a lovely day today. Right. No, I don't need this anymore right now. This can sit here for now. How much flour do you want? 3 1/2. Okay. I'm going to add a 1/2 cup at a time and beat it in until I get what I need. Now, you can't cut back on the rye when you make this, when you're using whole grains. The only one you can cut back a little on is if it's taken all the flour it can be, would be your all-purpose, or whichever is the largest. Okay, that's 1 cup. We're going to get about 3 cups. Yeah, just about 3 cups. I didn't have time to make them this morning, and I just cleaned the kitchen area up, and now I'm going to dirty it again. But this is not a sourdough. This is just a regular batter. All right, that's there. That's 2. I'm actually counting out what I'm doing. The guy's right, and I can't keep up with all these. Hi, Larry, Charles. Iowa, how are you doing in Iowa? Thank you, Rodney. He was more into losing weight. I am more into, I feel that your weight and nutrition go hand in hand. I really do. I know changes go on as you get older, but you think of these young people are already heavy. Can you imagine what they're going to be like later as they get older? I worry about them. Because if you're heavy, you're going to end up with medical problems. Be it too heavy. Of course, some people are skinny and they have medical problems, so I guess that doesn't hold true with what they say. I consider it more what you eat. And I figured I'm going to try to avoid medication to my dying day. If it's short term, I can deal with it. But if it's long term, I ain't going to do it. Because that's just a slow death. What I hate is the governor sat there and said that if you don't take some vaccines or something, that they can throw you in jail and you don't have a right to an attorney, your family, or anything. And I'm saying, what is going on here? They're growing paranoid. Not just corn syrup, it's the chemicals as well. It's not one thing, it's a whole bunch of things. If you bother to read what those chemicals do and side effects, and you say, I don't have these side effects now. No, they'll get to you later on after it builds up. We're making a Russian rye bread. I remember when they changed from sugar to corn syrup. We were all skinny, but remember, sodas were not very popular, and sweets were made at home. So if mother didn't feel like making them, you weren't going to get them. This is called kneading. Danielle, when you put bowls like this, do you know they break because you don't have them level? Lay it more in flat. That will keep anything from breaking. Thank you. So we're going to be kneading for about 25 minutes. I'm sorry. Takes a bit. Give 15 minutes at least. But I'm still working. I still got more flour to put into this. Now what I'm putting in here is actually little pieces of dough and flour, and I want to get it into the bread. Yes, that's right, they did do that. And Kennedy made a thing for the health. We had to do so much running, and we had to be able to do push-ups and stuff like that. The guys had to do more, yeah. That was a big thing to make sure that we stayed healthy. I'll work this in and then I'll get more flour and work it in. Yeah. Let's get another half a cup. You can see that it sticks a lot. So we have to get all this in here. But I remember the gym teachers doing that. You had to run track. I remember learning how to shoot. We had archery. We had a lot of things we had to learn. My father taught me how to shoot, though. But I haven't done that since a little girl. I make fun. I say, tell my girlfriends, man, you give me a gun today with all the safeties, I'd probably kill myself trying to get it to work. They put so many safeties on these things. My son says, you really know how to shoot? I said, yeah, shotgun. I'm going to hit my target. What a thing to talk about. Like I say, young people, yeah, we all learned. We had to learn. There wasn't a home that didn't have a rifle that I went to that didn't have rifles and guns. Grew up with them. Sharp knives, swords, it was all there. Archery. I learned to play darts when I was younger. I was better at it than my brothers. Hi, Ann. That's the only thing I hate about rye bread is you really have to work on it. So let's see. I have been on for 17 minutes and I don't have trolls. So all those trolls in the morning must be students. Sharacid? What? I think I learned a lot. There wasn't one thing that I was left with. I was exposed to so much. In opera, I was shocked. First time I heard opera, I didn't think anybody could do that with their voice. Russian rye bread. It's always hard. I don't know why I do. Other breads are easy. No Band-Aid, but I do have a scab. Yes, it is. It's healing. That's why I wrap the Band-Aids real tight around it to stop the bleeding there so it could close up enough. And then I put another one on, but this morning it came off with all the cooking I was doing. By the way, the spare ribs are very good. We enjoyed it. We ate. Well, I should say I ate, not everybody else. I ate, and I enjoyed it very much. So I put, oh yes, by this recipe. It was really a treat. Ugh. I would not do this if I had been shoveling. I would have made an all-white bread, which would be easier, because I know how much shoveling is and throwing snow. It's very, very heavy. Your arms get so tired. And P4R. What's the P4R stand for? Or did you just? Yes, so there'll be a part 2 because this is going to take a while to rise. It's in the afternoon. I usually do this in the morning, but I was doing other things this morning, and I said I can't do that. I still haven't even finished yet. I haven't gotten the clothes out to the hamper yet because I was doing other stuff. Let's see, I put about, what, 2.5, 3 cups in this. I got 2.5. How many am I supposed to put here? Get myself dirty. Okay, I'm close to it. Why don't I do another 1/2 cup? I take up to 3 because I'm at 2.5 right now. But the water I use, I told you I was going to use it, and I did. Happy chicken. Okay. Hi. Till it's double. They usually say an hour, but in the winter it takes a little longer than an hour. Then we shape it and let it rise again. From the gym. Could be okay. 4 equals A. Okay. No, I am not. Edward. Snacky. Hi. Oh. When you use whole grains, you do have to work harder because they have everything in them. So it's more denser and it takes longer. Morning? We're in the afternoon. You're running a little behind. Snacky. Hi, Ann. Oh, God. All right. You see, it's starting not to stick. You see that? I've got to finish all this flour here. Let me turn you down so you can see it. So I still have all this I have to get in here. And I think that's all it's going to take. Once I work it all in, if it doesn't stick to the counter, I got more than enough here. Now she said 3.5 cups. I think I'm at 2.5 or 3. 10:58 here in the west. Yeah, you're out west. I'm out east. So you should be out in the California area, Washington State, I think, Snacky. Oh, God. Maybe not, because it's 1:40. You're there. It's 10. Yeah, you're 3 hours. No, you'd be in mountain time, right? You're not central. You should be mountain time. Oh, okay. Oh. Yeah, the Pacific. Lewis, okay. Boy, if I ever get enough money to travel, I guess I'll be seeing a lot of you when I go around. Tomorrow morning, if I can find them in the refrigerator, I plan to make cube steaks. I made that beautiful bread that we're having right now, and it really comes out what? Russian rye bread. A good cheese would go with this very, very nicely. Like a brie of some sort. Oh, Oregon. You're in Oregon? Hi. And no, Louis, I am Italian. That's my heritage, is Italian. And a little bit of French, a little bit of Irish, and a little bit of English. But about 95% Italian. I hope to. But, oh, I've been working, so my arms are tired already. And Romano? Romano. Okay. Oh. See, it's not sticking anymore, but I have to work all this flour in. So I'm going to see how fast I can get it in there. My arms are getting tired now. But they do suggest that you knead for about 15 minutes. No wonder they said use the mixer. But I've always made bread this way, so. My girlfriend used to make her bread with the mixer, but she said she burnt it out. She said it was a KitchenAid, but KitchenAids don't wear out that easy. So maybe she got it confused. Oh. So any of you who made any biscuits, I'd like to know how they came out. Okay, Anne. Pensacola. Yeah, I hear about that a lot in the news, Pensacola, when I was growing up. God, I didn't even tell you the time we were preparing for war with Cuba because the Russians had ships there with missiles. And we had to learn, because we were right in the area. If they attacked, Texas was going to be hit right away where I was. And which was in Beeville, Texas. If you look it up, you'll see it right there. And we had to learn to keep watch. We had alarms to prepare us at school that we go to the window and we squat down and we put our hands over our heads to protect our heads. And being in a ball as small as we could get would protect, our back would be hit, but our organs wouldn't be. Okay, then you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, because we were going to be the first ones hit. But Kennedy, and there was a standoff, and Russia backed down. Because the thing was, is they said no communist country would be in our sphere. And now look what we got. I remember being in elementary school as well. Not my parochial school, but my elementary. So that would have had to mean I was in 4th junior high. Oh, I can't even remember the year that happened. Yeah. And you got under there, but we had to go next to the windows. Because the windows weren't that, we had big bay windows at school, so putting us under the desk wasn't going to help us. We were held right against, so if a bomb came and the windows blew in, we were all be as close as we could to the wall underneath to give us as much protection as possible. I remember my mother having to she sterilized the tub. They said there wouldn't be any water or anything, and we had canned goods, a lot of canned goods stuck in the garage. And my mother filled the tub up. And we had to bring the animals in. And everybody was on pins and needles. Everybody was watching out for everybody. When was that? Wasn't that the early 60s? That was Kennedy's time. Early 60s, if I remember correctly. I'll work this in and I am done working this. See how hard it is to get the last of that flour in? I can't remember the exact date, but I remember Kennedy. I just saw the video. They finally put out the true video that the driver of the limousine killed JFK. And it was because he wanted to remove the federal tax and the central bank. And that's why they killed him. I remember LBJ was a Republican. and Kennedy was a Democrat, and he changed parties because John F. Kennedy felt that the best person, if anything happened to him, would be Lyndon Baines Johnson. Well, they gave us the security that we could do something, you know? It's just like if we're an atomic, my husband said it point blank, if we have an atomic war, what would be left would be worse than just dying. He said, we'll go to ground zero, Sandy, and have a picnic with the children. He said, because you do not want to be in the aftermath of that and what will happen. He said, just, continue living. I said, he is right. Ugh. You see how hard it is to get all this worked in? Oh my God. I could hear my mixer going, rawr, rawr. Hi, Bay. Okay. Listen, I'm tired now. Okay. Now this has to double. How long it's going to take, I don't know. I'm just still trying to work this flour in. I can still see flour not worked into it yet. But you can see it's going to be heavy, but once it's completely risen and cooked, it'll be a nice solid loaf. Not heavy, but it'll be nice. A lot of people don't know what goes into bread. I'm thinking about I could make curry tomorrow. I do have hot peppers, Oh, God. Okay, now you're getting where I want you to be. Ugh. You see, you don't see the flour now? Just roll it out. You are now, yeah. This is it's tiring. Sometimes people lie to give us that security as children that everything's going to be all right. Snacking with it, you know what I'm talking about. But people lie sometimes to give comfort, I have lied to help somebody, Tony's father. He sat there and he came from his deathbed. And I was cooking at the house before we went home. And he came up to me and he said, and I had just told my sons less than a week that you always, always tell the truth. Well, Tony's father, I called him Grandpa to get the boys to call him Grandpa, and that they called him by his first name because I did. And he said, Sandy, do I look bad? And I said, no, I didn't. I am from Connecticut. That's where I was born. He sat there and sat down after he went to the mirror, and I saw him look in the mirror in the powder room because I had to go get something out of the pantry, so I passed him when he was there. I saw him look at himself. And he turned to me and said, Sandy, because he knew I was going to tell the truth. I'm going to open my big mouth. I'm going to do it. Hi, Ash. Oh, America. And what I told him, he said, Sandy, he sat down. He was really, really tired. And he asked me, Sandy, how do I look? And I said, Daddy, you look tired. But remember, you've had a massive heart attack and everything else. You look tired. You really look more tired. You just look very, very tired. And he said, thank you. And he said, I'm going to go lay down until dinner's done. I said, okay, I'll come and get you when it's time to eat. He hadn't been home 5 days from the hospital, and he had lost a lot of weight. A heart attack will kick you down. Shoot, that water's hot. And he went upstairs and he went to sleep. The boys didn't say anything. I just gave him a look that told, I think all of us know that look, that you don't sit there and say anything. Your mother gives you that look. If you open your big mouth, you're going to be in trouble, you know. We barely got home that night. They held us all afternoon, didn't say one word. And they said, Mommy, you lied. I said, what? Where? Where did I lie? You told us we're supposed to always tell the truth, and you lied, Mommy. Children will catch you every time. When you're ahead of time, they'll catch you. I said, look, if I told Grandpa that he looked like death warmed over, do you think he would want to live? And they said, no. I said, so I told a little white lie to help him. So he feels better, and he still wants to fight to live so he can be with you too. And they said, so it's all right to lie sometimes? I said, only if it's going to help somebody, like when they're really sick, not to get them out of trouble or something, but you lie when they're really sick. That's when you know, and they feel that they don't have any energy. That gives them that little hope that they need, that they just look tired. Those are what we call little white lies. But God says, I said, I know, and if I get punished for my little white lie, but I did a good thing. So Grandpa he got happier, and didn't you see him? But he was tired, so didn't it help? And they said, yes. I said, so sometimes these little white lies help people. You just have to weigh the circumstances for those little white lies. Yes, I do, Ash. God, he's my father. Look at it this way. I'm going to have to heat this up. My oil's a little thick. It's not going to spread. Just imagine how God would feel. Or that you sit there and you have a child, right? And you're caring for them. You help them, but you let them experiment, you know, make decisions and stuff. And then they turn to you after you've given them all that love. You created them, which the father does. He impregnates the woman and she gives birth. And that child turns to you after all you've done for them, given them all the love and helped them grow up, and they turn and say, I don't believe you're my father. I hate you for giving me life. That would hurt. It does hurt a parent who gives so much to the children, right? Imagine how much we hurt God with the people who deny him. Imagine how much hurt that he's carrying, and he's getting angry because not only do you scream that you hate him, it's just like your child. You give him these gifts and everything, and he destroys everything you give him, and then turns and defies you and says, I have no father. You think of all the harsh things that you do, and it would hurt you if you were a parent. Well, imagine how much hurt it does to God. So you think about that, and nobody thinks about how he's feeling. And he'll get to the point where the hurt will turn to anger. And he said, I'm going to punish them. It's evident they're the most ungrateful children, you know, so I'm going to have to punish them. And that's what he's going to do. Now, that's a very simple way of looking at God. But because I'm a parent, I can see it that way. So, if I hurt, I can imagine how much hurt he's going through. And he created millions of us. And I think that's why men have so many sperm, you know, all the time. Because God created a whole bunch of children at once, and like the man. And I think that's a way of making an association with God. I could be wrong, but that's personal. But, I think about it. Sometimes when I wake up in the morning before I get up, start my day, because sometimes I get up before the alarm, I sit there and think about things like that. He could be crying. And then after all the crying is over, and then you go too far, and your parents come with the whip to bust your tail. And that's what he's going to do to us. No, I don't want to use this one. That's for my hands. So I can imagine how much crying he's doing. And every time a child listens to him or something, he hugs them. He's so happy. But still, he looks at his wayward son. And I use son in the terminology for mankind, male and female. So that's how I perceive it, as simple as it is. It's a simple truth. It's simple. I'm not a philosopher where you go and you debate these things and everything else. This is just how I feel, and I don't want to lose him and I don't want to hurt him, so I try not to. Well, I'm sure I fucked it up a couple of times, okay? Yeah, I'm not perfect, far from it. But those are my simple philosophies, and I make them so much a part of my life. I'm not talking about going to church and doing Hail Marys or anything, but I try to live to the best of my ability. Doesn't always work. Sometimes I have really bad days, but I work and I try to move forward on all of it, okay? Okay. That bread is going to have to rise, and I don't know how long it's going to take. I might be up late tonight. Remember, I go to bed early, so you guys will say, that's late. Yeah, well, if you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you do a full day and you're at my age, believe you me, you'll have a shorter day because you need more rest. But anyway, that's just something I think about. And when I talk with you guys, you make me think and remember some of the things that I think about when I get up. Like I've been thinking about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, if you wish. And I'm saying, okay, if just hear me out, okay? They've already done the DNA, and they found it on the mother's side is human. I'm wondering, because of the ARE readings, that we were giants before, okay? We really were. And we've lost a lot of our height and everything. I think a lot of the giants we see, the large giant skeletons they found, that they try to hide, I think they were us, humans, how big we were. And I'm wondering if, now I go back to Cain and Abel again, that God accepted one offering, but he didn't accept the other. But yet it is said that we were supposed to care for the garden, not the animals. The animals we weren't supposed, but we could crossbreed and, plenty the ground and stuff to make sure there's enough food for everybody. And I said, well, why didn't he accept the other one, which ended up causing it? And they found, now this is, today you probably know it as common sense. But when I was younger, they talked about, they found gems and stuff that they could not get the finest thread to go through. It was too thick. Now they can because they know how to control the light and make it real thin, but at the time they had none of that. And they couldn't understand how they could find these things in the temples and pyramids and all. How did they do this? And my thing is well, we would have had to buy a higher race, let's say. More knowledge than what we have now. And then I sit there and say, well, we're doing gene splicing here, and maybe they did cross genes and stuff. So the ones who offered, they said the meat, the animals and stuff, their offering might not have been slaughter. It might have been, look, God, look what I created. I took these two animals and I created a new one. God might have been I think that was it. And now we're doing gene splicing again. So I questioned this, and I said, I think this is what happened with Cain and Abel. You see? And I think about, well, Sasquatch, he's got DNA that says from the mother's side that it's human DNA. But yet it shows, and one guy who drew the sketches of what people saw, hunters and stuff that saw them, they said it looked human. Now, another guy who's a linguistic for the federal government, he's retired now, he listens and can tell the fluctuations and how verbs or sounds are made, which are verbs and adjectives and stuff, talking. And he was a recording, I think, of 15 minutes of sounds of two Sasquatch. And he said, that's a language. It's a real ancient language. Now, the American Indians say they're human, but nobody believed it until they actually got the DNA of one from a hair follicle. Not the hair, but where the root is. They managed to get that, but they said they couldn't tell where the father's genes were, but they knew the mother was direct line all the way to the Middle East. I say, all right, you see where I'm going. These are questions and things that I rise. And then I say, well, let's see, the pyramids are in the Middle East. All right. Now, on the pyramid walls, they're hieroglyphics. They have half human, half animals. Now, I know the Great Pyramid through the ARE readings, you see where I'm going, I've done a lot of reading. High Nova, he states that they had to remove, this is the terminology that gets me now. Remember, we're looking at the hieroglyphics, and all the hieroglyphics and anything they see of ancient cultures, they always paint what they see, not what they imagine. They're learning this very quickly, but it doesn't make sense. They're trying to say, well, this was spiritual or something, but they didn't do that. They painted the truth. And when one culture agrees with another one and they're in different continents, you begin to wonder that they must have had a multi-language. So I'm saying if they had half human, half animals to these so-called mystical beasts, whereas that from the gene splicing, why Atlantis had to fall and the sin was so great, you see? So I question this, because the Great Pyramid of Egypt, they don't know what it was used for, but according to the Edgar Casey readings from the ARE, they were used to remove excess hair. If Sasquatch is part human, I start questioning. I have a lot of questions, and I think about this. Listen, Goliath was so large that no man could. Now, we were 15 to 17 feet tall. And believe you me, that's pretty tall as humans at one time. And they couldn't stand up to Goliath, this great big dinosaur, because that's what they were all called. Only God could stand before him. Does that tell you how big that animal was? Like some of the mountains I see and how jagged they are, I said, were those some of the trees that used to be? And after the great flood and they were ripped up and all, dirt and stuff landed around them. I have questions about these things. No, elephants were much larger than what they are now. And they found out the oxygen was much better than it was now. So things have changed drastically. And when you have a whole bunch of animals in one sphere, I don't believe in evolution. It would have had to have been a great flood. Now, some of the trees that they have dug up, that you count rings on trees, right? Well, when they find these fossils and stuff, they find trees that have no rings on them. No rings of telling how old they are, but they're huge. So that would have had to meant they would have had to been created at one time. So I question and I talk with him and I try to put things together. I don't have a lot of questions, but the few questions I have, I've gotten answers, and I think about these things sometimes when I wake up, or sometimes before I go to bed. I go, I think there's more to this earth than we know. Now I know the Bible. This throws me off. They say flying saucers, aliens, and stuff. But yet I know angels exist and demons because I've seen them. They're huge. They're giants. But they can make you see what they want you to see. And because they were created before us, the demons have free reign here. They can do a lot of things to make us assume things that we're seeing when we're really not seeing. Because we're not seeing the truth. Because they're smarter than us. Always remember that. The demons or fallen angels or whatever you want to call them, they're smarter than us. So we always can't believe the things that we see. People say, oh, the sky and this and that. And I look up and say, well, there's nothing wrong with my sky. I look up, I see the sun, I see the moon, I see stars, I see a lot of satellites because we've got a lot of them up there, you know. So I think, and that's what I do. A lot of people might not like hearing it, but it's something I think about and I question it. A lot of people don't believe in God, but I sit there and say, I sat there and I don't think any mother, when a child sits there and tells you, I hate you, you know, that hits home. It really does hit home. So you can imagine God is putting his hand out to you and you tell him, I hate you. I don't believe you. Think about how bad he feels. Okay? Then you get a good perspective about what. And then a parent can take the hurt only for so long. And then the punishment comes out. And that's where we're heading to. If we don't pull our heads out of our backsides and get some common sense and accept that we live on this planet with animals and plants, we all interact and need to live off each other. Okay. Oh, staying off the grid is back again. Just ignore him. He doesn't have anything important to say. All right, so those are my thoughts. But right now we're going to have to wait for that bread. It might take 2 hours. It might rise faster. I don't know, so I can't tell you. But anyway, I will be back on another video when it rises and we'll get it ready. So we'll be able to put it into the oven. So take care and just ignore staying off the grid. He's just being stupid right now. Okay? Bye-bye.